So in this segment, we continue looking at refraction of light. So what exactly is a refraction of light? So we can say refraction of light is the bending. Yeah, so that's the key word there, is the bending of light as it travels from one medium to another of different optical density. So this is what we can simply call as being refraction of light. Of course, I know some people may just want to define it in this case as being, the bending of light. You can actually define it as simply the bending of light in simple terms, but of course it is the bending of light as it travels from one medium to another, and those medium or media should have different optical density. You may wonder, of course, what is optical density? What do we mean when I say optical density? Well, when we talk about optical density, we can say it refers to how it actually refers to how slow. So it refers to how slow or fast light passes through a medium. That's what we saw. How slow or fast light passes through a particular medium, and that is what we simply call as being optical density. So that is what you need to remember. Now, like we said, you need to remember that what causes a refraction is due to the change in the direction of light as it passes from one medium to another. So because of change in direction of light or speed of light, you are going to find that it is actually going to bend as it passes from one medium to another. So let me just give you a few examples of some few bendings that you're going to find. Suppose it is actually moving from from a less, let's say from a less dense medium. Suppose light is moving from a less dense medium to a more denser medium. Or let me just try to illustrate it using a diagram. Let me say that I do have two media. In this case, you're moving from a less dense medium like air, and you're moving into water as your medium. So what is going to happen to the ray of light? Well, in that case, if that is the case, what you're going to find is that if a ray is moving from a less denser medium to a more denser medium, initially, if at all it was the same medium, it would have actually continued to move in a straight line. But what will happen is that it is simply going to bend towards the normal. Remember, this is representing the normal in this case, but you're going to find that it will bend towards the normal. And remember, this angle here is what we are calling as being the angle of incident, and this ray moving towards the surface is what we call as being the incident ray, and this one now is what we call as being refracted ray, because the refraction is actually taking place. Then the angle between the normal and the refracted ray, this angle here, we call it R, this is what we call as being the angle of refraction. So that is what you need to remember. So when you're moving from a less dense medium to a more denser medium, the ray is simply going to bend, in this case, towards the normal. So that's the first incidence that you can have. The other one that you can have, let's imagine that you're moving in this case from a more denser medium. You're moving in this case from a more denser medium like glass, and you're going into a less denser medium like air. What is actually going to happen to the ray? In which direction is it going to bend? Okay, so let's just try to put up a diagram there so that we can just help you to illustrate. In this case, you are moving from a more denser medium, which is glass, and you're going into air. What is going to happen? Of course, if the medium was 1, it would have actually continued to move in a straight line, but that is not going to be the case. But because it's moving from a more denser medium to a less denser medium, it will be refracted away from the normal. So you can see that it goes away from the normal. And of course, as we said, that angle is the angle of incident, and this angle that will be created there is simply the angle of refraction. So you are moving from, this is less, and that is actually more denser. So you are moving from a more denser medium to a less denser medium. So it bends away from the normal. So those concepts are very